Okay, thank you very much for coming to Belgrade and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
At the beginning, can you explain us who was Heinrich Böll and what is Heinrich Böll Foundation? What is your program? What kind of projects are you doing?
Heinrich Böll was a writer and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and he became more than a writer. He, over time, became a public intellectual, and his topic was how did it come that the whole nation slipped into National Socialism and to fascist times. And he hated the war and he hated polarization, and he really tried to bridge the Iron Curtain between East and West. He supported dissidents in Russia, in the Czech Republic, and so he was a very trustworthy person. And in the end, when he died in 1986, and in 1979, the Green Party was founded, and he supported them because he started to protest, to be a part of their protests and peace protests, anti-nuclear protests, and so on. And so he became kind of green intellectual, you may say, and he was a bridge between East and West, and so it was very intriguing to say, okay, let's for a political foundation that is affiliated to the Green Party, it's good to have a person that is related to both sides of Germany. That was one of the reasons why my predecessors chose that name.
The program, what kind of projects you are doing, for example, here in Serbia? Or
yeah, here in, we have two offices in the Western Balkans. We used to have also one in Croatia, but now we have in Sarajevo and Belgrade. We run two offices, and in both countries, the main focus is on democracy and ecology. You may really say these are the containers of the work. And the way, it's more the way we do it, we try to find partners on an eye level. We don't appear like donors to say this is a good project, bad project, and that's it, do what you want to do. But to find partners who share our values and to try to change things on the ground. Let's say to help mayors to improve the ecological footprint of their communities, or to see how is the past being worked through, or is it worked through? What about memory policies? And of course, we also step in in certain political topics that are on the agenda. In the land swap issue, we really positioned ourselves and tried to bring partners, our partners from villages in Kosovo to Brussels and Berlin, in order to give voices a chance that aren't heard in these European spheres. So that's mainly the kind we work.
What politics or who do you support in Serbia? Is there a party or a movement that is close to the ideas of the German Greens?
As I said before, we don't support certain parties or so. I mean, we are affiliated to, that's not a secret, to green movements and to participatory movements. And if there is a participatory movement, we try to connect and say, okay, folks, can we cooperate, or is there anything we could do together, or can we raise your voices in Brussels and so on. Of course, the near Davimo, Belgrade is one opportunity, but we do have partners in rural areas as well, and in climate and environmental issues, of course, and we speak to a lot of people, and where we, and especially in Serbia, we run lots of smaller projects in order to encourage people who really in need of being encouraged, and not always the fist in their face, but there's some organizations they can speak to and spread their ideas, and that's one also in Bosnia. That's one of the most important tasks we take up.
Today you are talking about the Green European Deal for Serbia. Can you explain us first, what does that mean to be green? What do you stand for? What are the main goals? How do you define that politics?
Perhaps that I learned that the New Deal issue is there already in the region, to think about how to find energy and visions for economy and sustainability at the same time, because we are convinced that it would be a good idea for Serbia, for the economic development of the Western Balkans, all the 6 countries, to not to repeat the mistakes the Western countries did and have to cope with the consequences, but to implement sustainable economic processes from the beginning on. And that would mean to see is the nature preserved or damaged when you have a new plant somewhere or a new idea? Do we gain the energy from renewable resources or sources, or from fossil? It's not a good idea to build new carbon plants or so, and to open mines, because you see the consequences in mining areas, the devastated areas, which we really have to cope with, and all these negative consequences. And that would, and the interesting part of Green New Deal would be to say this is sustainability not only in economic and ecological terms, but also in social terms, because a livelihood that is livable for everyone, with less air pollution, with good infrastructure, with trains and public transport, this helps people and improves living conditions, so that well-educated people don't move away, but see some chances for themselves and their children here within the region. That's mainly the idea. The year 2019 was predicted by many politicians, experts, and journalists to be a turning point for the European Union. Some even claimed it would become at the beginning of the end of the European Union. Less than 4 months after the elections, we have a majority of clear pro-Europeans in the parliament. We have a new European Commission, which is almost gender equal. We have a Commission President who is a pro-European Christian Democrat from Germany, and we have a right-wing camp which is disunited and disorientated.
You recently had elections for the European Parliament, and surprisingly, the Greens went very well. So now many people are talking about the green wave. What happened in Europe?
Different things. We do have very dynamic political processes, and we see that there are a lot of people who really want to be heard, and a lot of people who don't believe the ones who say, let's close Europe, let's have a closed shop and come back to ancient times of fossil industry and so on and on. But people want to have an open future, they want to have a vision, they know we have to solve problems on a global scale, and we feel as Europeans, and we've traveled around, we've been living in other countries and so on, and where is the party that stands trustworthy for these values? It's more than ecology. It's also about liberal values and the idea of social cohesion and openness to people from other continents and other living conditions. So I think that's a main part, that the Green parties within, not only in Germany, also in France and Sweden and the Netherlands, they really stood for this open concept and didn't went to one side or the other to be a bit populist in that direction or in that direction. No, they kept their course, and I think it's one of the main reasons that they did so well.
How did the climate change and ecological questions become important political questions for Germany? What happened?
Several things happened. I mean, since one can think the conditions of environmental surroundings are deteriorating, even in Germany. Look at the woods, the rivers, and so on. I mean, we reached some steps through regulation. We have cleaner rivers than we used to have, even in the 90s. But that's not enough, because the fuel of the economy is energy. And that's why when the Greens came to power in 1998, they decided to make a big step towards renewable energies. And they promulgated a law, and this has boosted the renewable industry, or the renewable sector, the renewable energy sector. And we are still on that track. And then, of course, this was a very old demand of the Greens, and a very heartful one to phase out nuclear power. And then Fukushima happened in 2011, and all of a sudden the whole country was decisive to say we really have to phase out of nuclear. It's far too dangerous. We don't know where to put the waste. It will, for millions of years, this will really be a burden for future generations, and it's not safe at all. So let's quit this and try to find new ways. Of course, and there we are. We are really struggling how to come forward. The Greens have ideas how to reform the system and to really meet the needs of the climate agreement. And in between, all Europe came to the conclusion we have to do something against climate change, and we really have to take measures. And then Paris came in 2015, and that of course boosted the topic within the political scene, so that more parties than the Greens are talking about measures to meet the needs of the Paris Climate Agreement. In the week before the elections, it was not migration and refugee policies which topped the agenda, but a topic much more serious, the climate crisis. The most important success of the climate strike protesters, the very young people going out on the streets all over Europe, is that they managed to bring the issue of climate change into almost all political TV shows and newspapers. While the right-wing populists offer backward-looking policies which do not speak to the middle class, and especially not to younger people, the Greens offer constructive and effective policies such as carbon price, sustainable investments in public infrastructure in order to tackle climate change.
Now we are waiting the new European Commission to be formed.
Yeah.
And what's the future of the EU enlargement? That's a very important topic.
Absolutely.
Will it happen, and how important is that topic now in Brussels?
I mean, from our point of view as a Green Political Foundation, we found Europe isn't really complete without the Western Balkan states. But of course, there are preconditions, and one of the most important preconditions from our view is that the Western Balkans countries have to establish a rule of law which is really trustworthy, participatory policies, and to meet the needs of the people, and to have a political system that is not only window dressing, but which really allows people to live in a plural and vibrant society. So on the other hand, of course, the European Union has also to take some reform steps, and we have to convince people who are afraid of I don't know what crime and so on. We don't support or fuel these kind of frames, and I think it's really worthless. And from my point of view, it's too less. It should be looked to enlargement more than it's up to now. And yeah, we try to foster this, but I can imagine that the idea to name a Hungarian commissioner is is not very helpful, isn't seen very helpful from progressive and democratic forces in the Western Balkans. But let's see, up to now, the parliament hasn't have its word, and we will see how this will go. And I mean, even if we had a commissioner from Hungary with good ties to autocratic leaders around the region, we still have a civil society around Europe that really can speak up and bring topics and voices to Brussels that tell another story.
Thank you very much.
Stays to be one. Thank you.